It's
All
being
right.
live streamed. It's official.
Welcome to Frequent Milers Ask Us Anything live on YouTube. So we were just talking about Chime. There was
Ding,
a
ding, ding, ding,
deal
ding.
where it was possible to earn a lot in referral cash, and I'm wondering where are you guys at? Has everybody earned a bunch of money from Chime?
Yeah, we got a bunch of referrals in my household. My wife and I both got, I don't know, I mean, it looks like maybe we'll eventually both get as many as you can get. So I got 10 and so far she had 9. So that's seems like it's worked out well because that means that at least 19 different readers got hopefully $200 a piece if they follow the directions. So hopefully that worked out well for a bunch of people.
Has anybody seen like the deposit money show up yet? So you're supposed to. So there were two aspects to the deal, right? One was referring someone else, and then you get money, and that's worked as Nick was just talking about. But the other part was whoever signs up has to direct deposit $200 or more, and would get anywhere from 100 to 200 depending on when they signed up and what the offer was. And I don't know. It sounds like none of us on the team have gotten that money yet, right? And I know
I
my
did get
son
an email.
hasn't.
Both my wife and I got an email like yesterday or the day before saying that our bonus was going to be going away soon, so we need to hurry up with making the deposit. Yeah, and so that makes me think that the ally push that I didn't work, and so
I'm sorry. I thought yeah. Good.
I'm ACH push today, so hopefully that'll work in time.
Yeah, there were several data points that said Ally was failing. I thought I shared that in a conversation the other day. Sorry about that if I didn't.
No, but, you were absolutely confident that Ally was going to be absolutely fine.
Was I? Okay, all right. Who said that? That was me. Somebody else.
But no, I mean, to be fair, all of the previous data points on Dr. Credit had said that Ally was fine, but yeah, this time it was showing up as a P2P transaction, so I think that might be why.
So I think the fact that like the referral, because a bunch of us have gotten some referral bonuses, so that tells me that I would think that Chime has successfully recorded direct deposits from the people that we got our referral bonuses from, right? So even if Chime, I mean, I haven't heard any data points from any readers saying that they've got the direct deposit bonus yet either. I'm thinking though it must be like somewhere within the system, Chime has realized, oh yeah, they've triggered it and they're going to get it. At least I hope so. Hopefully people are going to like comment here and be like, oh yeah, I got my Chime bonus, in the comments.
And say how they did it, how they did their direct deposit.
Direct deposit. That's true.
We'd love to hear some positive data points on how it works. So far people in my family have done SoFi and Venmo, and neither one has shown up money yet.
We did Bank of America payments, and those haven't showed up either. So Ask Us Anything just became Ask the Audience things.
Yeah, that's right.
But I do have a question from the audience, so let's transition there.
Let's do it.
Question 1: do you know if it's now possible to book AA awards using Etihad miles online? Interested because of Amex transferability and good pricing for domestic short hauls with layovers. We're going to start going in order of how my Zoom organizes you guys. So Greg, this one is for you.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that's available. I haven't actually tried it, so I don't know how easy it is to find AA awards through Etihad online, but I believe it's doable.
Anyone else have any follow-up for that?
No,
if not,
since it's been announced that it was doable, or supposedly doable.
Right. Same.
Alrighty. So Nick, question 2 here.
Right.
Well, actually, we'll start with Nick, and then this is a kind of free for all. Do any of you have an emotional attachment to a particular card? This is the only audience you could.
That's actually a really good one.
That is a good one. I think I'm fickle. I think I did when I years ago when I got into this, it was the Amex Starwood preferred guest card. That was the one that I don't know. I was excited when I got it. and I felt like I made it. I had an Amex, and it was a Starwood card that was going to give me all these great stays and miles. And of course, like Starwood became part of Marriott years ago, and so that card has long ago disappeared. So, but I don't think I have one that. No, I don't feel like I have a particular emotional attachment to any of the others. Somebody else?
Well, I have two that I'd be very upset if I lost them or they changed in substantial ways. One is
that's
my City Prestige card, which you can't get one anymore, and I've really loved the 5X dining on that. And the other one is the Ritz card. I mean, so many positive characteristics, but I don't know if emotional is the right word.
Yeah,
I have an emotional detachment from a card.
Which one?
That's actually probably an easier question.
Yeah. So there was a back when my wife and I, who have now been married for 20 years, we were just engaged, or we were planning for our wedding. We went to buy clothes from Nordstrom. This is probably 2002, and Nordstrom said, they said, hey, you can get $50 off of your order today if you sign up for the Nordstrom credit card. So I was like, well, sure, I'll do that. Signed up for it. And then right after that, we took a 4-month trip where we didn't have our old addresses, and the internet was in its infancy in those days. And so like, it wasn't necessarily common to necessarily pay all your bills online. And so I forgot completely about the $60 shirt that I had bought for $10. And 2 years later, when we went to buy our first house, we went to the mortgage originator and we said, hey, we're here's what we have, here's our thing, this is our first time purchase, but we've got excellent credit, blah blah blah. And he said, okay, I think we can work with that, just let me just double check that the credit's as good as you think it is. Turns out my credit was hammered because I had a did not pay from Nordstrom for their credit card for the $60 shirt, because they had never caught up with my address to send me a bill, and I had just completely forgot about it with the wedding and the honeymoon and all that. So we ended up having to start with about a 2% higher interest rate on our house than what we thought of, because I was considered high risk. And I paid the bill right now, and we still have that damn credit card.
Go ahead.
And every once in a while I have it.
Just use it out of spite.
No, I have never used it. That thing just gives me credit history, and I refuse to use the card.
Do you even shop at Nordstrom?
Like, no, I'm going to get average age of account out of this and nothing else.
Nothing else. You're not going to get a dime from me, Nordstrom's.
That's a good one. I like that. All right, we're going to move on. I feel like this question should probably be Nick, even though that would
Why do you say that?
So, best program for lap infant. And then I don't understand this part of the question. Maybe it will make more sense to you. Do you book a standard room and then call to add a lap infant? New to the process. Do they mean like, I don't know.
I think they're talking about two separate things. Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as lap infant, your best options for lap infants, are you going to want to, well, first of all, I guess what you got to understand is that many programs will charge you 10% of the adult revenue fare for a lap infant. And so you're, on a business or first class award, you're talking about maybe, $2,000 or something ridiculous like that, for first class anyway, or many hundreds anyway. And so you don't want that. You want to find the programs that have either a percentage of the adult mileage fare, or better yet, the best option is Air Canada Aeroplan. They charge 25 Canadian dollars or 2,500 miles each way for a lap infant, any class of service. So that's the best deal out there in terms of lap infants. Then there are a couple of other also rans that are fairly close. Virgin Atlantic has very reasonable lap infant fares. I think it's 5,000 miles in business class, 7,000 in first class, less in economy. So then there are the programs that charge 10% of the adult revenue fare, like British Airways. Avios charges 10% of the adult award fare. And Turkish Miles and Smiles does the same thing, 10% of the adult award fare. So those are a couple of decent options to keep in mind. I think I gave you a bunch there. I think we have a post about that too. And if we don't, we should. So I guess I'll have to fix that if we don't. So that's that. And in terms of how you do it, you certainly can book your regular adult full-size human awards and then call the airline to add the lap infant. Most of them you'll have to do that. There's very few that you'll be able to do it online. Turkish does allow you to book the lap infant online, but most programs you'll have to call after the fact. But be sure that you do it. Don't forget. And that's especially true if you do decide, okay, well, I really want to book this award with a program that charges 10% of the adult revenue fare. Don't forget until like 3 days before the trip to call and book, because then you're going to be paying 10% of like the 3 days in advance fare. Ask me how I know. So you want to make sure you do that far in advance. And if you were talking about a room like a hotel room, because maybe if that wasn't a typo, if you're actually talking about booking hotel rooms, if you run into a place that charges an extra person fee for that, if you're like, you've got one kid and you're at 3 people total, you're looking at like an infant that's under 2 and they're trying to add an extra fee, I would probably recommend just booking it for 2 adults and then reaching out to the hotel and saying, listen, we've got an infant. Can we get a crib or something like that? And give them the opportunity to tell you that they're going to charge you or not tell you that they're going to charge you, in which case you probably won't get charged for the extra person when it's a child under 2.
I like the use of full-size human. That's intriguing to me. All right. Tim question here. You'll have to explain this to me also. With the advent of, and I don't know if this is an acronym or a name of something, ETIAS. What is that? ETIAS?
European Travel Information and Authorization System.
Look at you,
right.
Tim.
Boy,
Whoa, nicely done.
I don't feel bad.
Someone brought up Google.
I mean, I don't know if
that's
that's
answering the question.
I don't know if that's correct or not, but it feels like it
Sounded
Okay,
great.
so with the advent of ETIAS travel authorization, will that have an impact on last minute award bookings? It may take 30 days for the travel approval.
Quick answer is no. So what the ETIAS travel authorization system is the European Union is going to be integrating an electronic effect. This is just for countries that don't require a visa to enter Schengen area or European Union countries. And so they are introducing an electronic way of effectively speeding up the entry process that you have to apply to beforehand. It's supposed to be implemented sometime next year. And I don't believe, in terms of the question, I don't think that it will at all. The reason why is because once you apply for it, it's good for 3 years. So effectively you apply for it once, and then once you get approved for it, it lasts for 3 years. So all of your last minute, any bookings you do would be under that same ETIAS thing. And although it may take 30 days for the travel approval for visa-free countries, it's only supposed to take no more than 96 hours. The only time it actually takes 30 days is if there's something irregular with your application process. We'll see how that ends up being integrated or not, because government IT. But all that to say, I don't see for folks that are traveling from countries that don't require a visa already to the EU. To me, it's actually, I think, going to streamline things a lot more when you're exiting and entering the EU, as opposed to, well, actually when you're entering more than exiting, but when you're entering the EU, as opposed to being an obstacle. I mean, theoretically, we'll see how. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be fairly rocky when they originally implement it.
Nice. That is good info. Seems like you did not guess on that acronym.
That was great picking Tim for that one, Terry.
Yeah. Somehow I knew, or Zoom knew. Stephen, this one is for you. What are the best uses of Alaska miles these days?
Any.
Did Stephen freeze or did we freeze?
I think it was Stephen.
Am I frozen?
Not anymore. Now you're fine.
So yeah, I was saying, I think the best uses are when you can actually get to use them, because I've had a hard time finding any award availability whenever I've been searching recently. But in theory, you can get down under for 55,000 miles when there is availability. So like getting to that's in business class. So getting to New York and not New York, New Zealand and Australia for that price is pretty good. Getting a free stopover along the way adds to the value of that. And then also like getting over to Europe, now that they're partnering with Condor, then like that can be, there are kind of more options now with getting over there. So that can be a useful opportunity too, as well as like getting over to Hong Kong.
Nice. All right. Greg, this
I want to
one-
just
oh,
add in for a minute. So, Stephen, it didn't occur to you that flying to South America from,
Oh, yep. On
let's say
Latin.
LA.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. That was.
Who knows
that was
about
gonna
that?
be-
Nobody's ever done that, Greg.
I
Try
find
doing
the
that with
best
a
use
family,
is
all
to-
right?
I find the best use is fly Southwest from San Francisco to LA and then fly onward on Latam.
Make sure you get lunch in San Francisco before you go to LA, though.
Yeah, don't listen to Tim.
Common
Yes.
rookie mistake.
background on that is that Greg is describing the itinerary that we all flew together for our Party of Five challenge. So that's background for anyone who didn't know. Greg, this is kind of we got a lot of questions on this, so I am kind of compiling two people who mentioned it for some background in case we don't all already know what this means. What are your thoughts on SAS to Skyteam? Another person said, with the news of SAS filing for bankruptcy and Air France KLM taking a stake, does this weaken Star Alliance and strengthen Skyteam? What are our thoughts on all of this?
I mean, Scandinavian Airlines, they were Star Alliance, and so previously you could book them, with any of the Star Alliance carrier miles, with your United Miles or Aeroplan or whatever. So at some point in the future, once this all goes through, it's going to change to where we'll have to use like Air France Flying Blue miles or Virgin Atlantic miles, or if you want to use up all your Delta miles, you could do that. Now that's all based on the idea that they would have award availability, which they rarely do for for Star Alliance awards. So who knows if it'll get any better with Skyteam. Overall, I feel like, I don't know if anyone has a different take on this, but I feel like they're a pretty minor player, and it's not going to make a big difference at the alliance level. I mean, does it weaken Star Alliance and strengthen Skyteam? Yes, by a little bit, I'd say.
All right. Thanks
It's
for
really
the
kind of a
commentary.
bizarre change, I think, honestly. It's like,
because
it's such a minor, like, why go through the trouble? But I'm assuming there's a good reason.
Has anyone actually flown SAS before?
No, because I can never find award availability. I mean, I've seen award availability once or twice in years of searching for awards to Europe. I mean, I never see availability on their flights.
Well, for flights within Europe, they're not bad.
Well, yes, I'm sure within Europe. Yeah.
So now it's like a new way of using your Virgin miles or Air France or whatever to fly within Europe if you're going to Scandinavia.
All right. I'll take it. So next, Nick, what airline cards are actually keepers for you currently?
Well, funny enough, my wife and I just both got the Aviator Red card, so I don't know if that's going to be a keeper necessarily, but it might be. I mean, Greg and I talked on a recent podcast episode about how the Aviator Silver is actually the best American Airlines card, and that one you can only get as an upgrade option from the Aviator Red, and only if you're invited to make that upgrade, and so you'll have to have the Aviator Red for a year first. So will that be a keeper for us? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how well we continue to play American Airlines loyalty points games and whether or not that status continues to be useful for us. Apart from that, I mean, the concept of having a United card for expanded award availability is sound. I think that makes one of those a good keeper card, but frankly, I've not had an airline credit card in my wallet now in a few years until this Aviator card, I don't think. So I'm not, well, you know what? I say that we do keep okay. All right. Let me answer this differently. The Southwest Priority card, hands down, Southwest Priority. My wife has that card, and I don't know why it didn't come to my mind right away. Southwest Priority card is $150 a year. Comes with $75 in Southwest credit that you can use towards flights or onboard purchases or whatever. Not that there's anything to purchase on board, I guess, but so $75 there, and then it also comes with this, I think, 7,500 miles a year, which are worth more than a penny each. So basically the card is a net free, and it comes with for credits for upgraded boarding, A1 to 15 boarding, which I used recently. And I saw today the annual fee just got charged. So I'm thinking that we got 4 more, which is awesome because I forgot to check in for tomorrow's flight until too late. Put this year's to use already. So we're going to get our money's worth out of that really, really easily.
Wow,
so
in real
Southwest
time.
priority. Yep.
Nice. You heard it live. All right, Tim.
Can I
this
ask,
one is
can
for
I,
you.
well, before, can I just ask one question? Greg, where
Sure.
are you at with airline cards?
Yeah, I mean, the only one that comes to mind right now that's a keeper is my no fee United card, because of the expanded award availability. I mean, everything else is, if I have one, it's for some purpose, and once it stops serving that purpose, it's not a keeper anymore. Ironically, what might become more of a keeper than before in a way, with going away from Delta, elite status and all that, as long as I'm still flying Delta, and with prices going up and up, getting the annual companion ticket on like the Platinum card becomes more and more valuable. So I could see keeping that.
All right. Any of the rest of you?
As a
Maybe
West Coast
question?
traveler that has grandfathered free companion pass Alaska cards, you would have to pry those 4 cards from my wife and my cold dead hands.
Yeah.
Because those are probably some of the most valuable cards we own.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
not own, but we get to partake in.
How about you, Stephen?
I'd throw in a City American Airlines card, just because that can help work towards status with American Airlines, and because of how it can be paid, that can be beneficial as well. So that's one that I'll be keeping around. And then, like Greg, I've got the United Gateway card as well, just for the times when I'm not silver status with United anymore.
Yeah, I guess we should point out that we learned recently that people who get the United Gateway card like new don't get the expanded award availability. But if you start with a card that has an annual fee that has expanded award availability and downgrade to the free card, then you keep that expanded award availability. So
and generally there's rarely a reason to get the Gateway card in the first place, because I think United usually on their card they waive the annual fee on the Explorer card. I feel like most of the time, at least anyway, and so you can have it be fee free for the first year and then downgrade afterwards to the Gateway card. So yeah, that's definitely the best way to go.
All right. I'm going to move us along to Tim. Can you confirm if some or any Amex Platinum cards have $200 annual Platinum dining credit?
Yes, but it's not going to be a very good news for probably the vast majority of the people watching this, because no US issued cards do. One of the changes that they made to Canadian issued cards, I believe it was just recently, like within the last couple months or so, is that they added a $200 Canadian dollar annual travel or dining credit. That unfortunately does not work for US issued cards. It's just for Canadian issued cards. And I actually think, if memory serves, I think maybe Singapore issued cards have it as well, or have something issued as well. But I think probably what the person is referring to is that there is one that has just been added for Canadian cards.
All right. Stephen, where are we? Can you talk about another acronym I don't know? RBN Amex points for house purchases.
Yeah, this one vaguely rang a bell and I couldn't remember why. And then I'd actually included it within a post a while ago about 65 ways that you can earn miles without flying. So, but I hadn't actually known about this one ahead of time. Someone had commented on that post. So I have very limited knowledge about it. So you can use RBN as your agent, and then you'll earn membership rewards for every dollar that you spend on your house. Or when you sell your house as well. So say you buy or sell a house for $250,000, you'll get 250,000 membership rewards points, which isn't too shabby, but it just depends on kind of what other fees you would be paying them versus what you would be paying other people. But yeah, it's potentially a decent option, provided they're providing a decent enough service. So the person who commented said that their friend used RBN and it didn't work out. So yeah, just be aware of that. But it is an option. But I'm not sure what RBN actually stands for.
We have to hand it to Carrie again for assigning that question to the right person. Certainly had no idea.
What that was about.
I mean, I'll take the credit, but again, I'm just following Zoom, so it's the Zoom gods.
Perfect.
So a while ago, Nick wrote a post. This is probably what, January of last year, wasn't it, Nick, where you wrote the post about earning?
You say so.
5 million Amex points for buying a car. It was actually, I think, 500,000.
Yeah, right, right.
Well, now given this, I think the next thing we expect is 5 years from now, we want to hear how you hit 5 million by buying a house.
Buying a house. There you go. That's I'll have to toss that on the docket.
But make sure you read Steven's post first.
I will have to.
I can imagine the conversation now. But honey, we have to move.
Got to do it for the blog. It's for the blog.
All right. This one is for Greg. I can't take credit for this assignment. This one was a reader. Now that Delta has demolished its frequent flyer program, Greg, what's the next airline status you're aggressively pursuing? My guess is AA based on previous posts. Are they right?
I mean, that was a great guess and was true until Alaska and JetBlue made it super easy to get status by matching. So Alaska in particular, assuming my status match goes through, I'll have One World's what is it, Emerald or whatever, that gets you into like first class lounges and everything. And I'll have some status benefits even when flying AA. So I decided not to chase AA status this year. Maybe I will again next year when I see the Alaska stuff running out. But for right now, I'm just looking forward to getting that Alaska status match and getting an Alaska credit card so that it'll last throughout 2024, which is what the terms of the status match for Delta Elites is.
Are you doing the JetBlue match as well, Greg, or just you're doing it both?
Yeah, the JetBlue one came through yesterday, and so I'm Mosaic 3, and my wife, who is Delta Diamond, she is Mosaic 4, so she gets those helicopter transfers from the New York City area airports to Manhattan.
Whoa.
So we're already like, all right, we need to plan a trip to Manhattan just to do that.
Wow.
Do it for the blog, Greg, for the blog.
Yeah, for the blog.
Yeah, that's right.
I think there's something going on Tuesday in Manhattan, so that might not actually be a bad idea.
Well, you know what? The match came through, but it said that they'll be letting us know soon how to redeem for the Blade things, the Blade helicopter thing. So we don't have the capability just yet to do that, but soon.
Nice.
Do you know how many people you can include on that helicopter transfer? Because I feel like party of 5.
So she got 4 one-way transfers. So it'll be perfect for the two of us to fly to New York and do round trip, basically. So flying to Manhattan and back to the airport. Now, here's a cool thing about the JetBlue stuff. All of these perks end on December 30th, not December 31st for some weird reason, but December 30th. And that doesn't sound cool, except the cool thing is if she gets a JetBlue card, her status will be re-upped for next year, and she'll get new certificates that are good throughout 2024. So
awesome.
We could do that helicopter ride this year, and then again next year, the round trip, the two of us with this one status match.
Or you could do it with 3 of your favorite employees.
Except
they're in her account.
That could be awkward for the fourth one of us.
That is true. But,
right?
So just use your carry-on.
That's right.
Well, that's probably not going to happen. You guys should watch the post that's going to come out in about 15 minutes about my JetBlue match. Hints at something I may do with one of the perks, and that may impact somebody.
Don't go read it until you're done watching this.
Yeah, probably should do it while we're on live. Yeah.
definitely
but
not.
also like this video right now, just
Yes.
for fun.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
If you'd
Yeah.
like this video,
Subscribe.
Greg might take you on a helicopter ride.
All right. So while you guys are busy liking this video, we're going to move on to Nick. Better welcome bonus offer: Marriott Boundless 5 free nights or Chase Inc. Cash 90,000 points.
I mean, better for who? It's a good question, but I mean, it really just comes down to whether or not you have a good use in mind for the Marriott free night certificates, and whether you long-term want the Marriott card for the annual free night certificate. I mean, you definitely can get terrific value out of the Marriott welcome bonus on that card. And it's a bonus that we have seen a few times, but not very often. And this 90K offer on the Inc. cards has now come around a couple of times and lasted for a while when it's been around. Personally, I would say both. If you're under 524, then get the Inc. card first and then the Marriott card before the offers are gone if you can. It's hard to pick one or the other without asking you, okay, so which card matters to you long term also, because the initial bonus, the 5 nights, you could get monstrous value out of that with Marriott. There's no doubt. If you're able to use that for nights that are 50,000 points each or top it off with points, you could definitely get a super valuable 5-night stay out of that. On the flip side, the Inc. Cash card has value year after year after year because the 5X at office supply stores is just so darn useful on up to $25,000 in purchases per year, plus the 90K. And if you have a player 2 in your household who can refer you and you pick up that 40,000 points in your household too, I mean, that's also a very, very strong offer. You can get yourself 4 or 5 nights at a really nice Hyatt with that, between the referral points and the welcome bonus, and then have a card that earns really well on spend long term. So I don't know as though I would pick one or the other. I think it just depends situationally on what fits your situation right now. Are you planning a trip where you need a 5-night Marriott stay that's going to cost you 50,000 points per night? Well, then go with the Marriott card. If you need a 5X card for office supply stores, then go with an Inc. Cash.
We always learn about the things Nick doesn't like, and Nick does not like picking in these hypotheticals. Doesn't like Lord of the Rings.
Well, if you don't have a Marriott card, then I guess
Doesn't like
a
picking.
Marriott. I guess a Marriott card. If you don't, because you're going to need to get one at some point, probably. I guess so. That's going to be a long-term key. If it's going to be a keeper for you, get the Marriott card. If you're just looking for a bonus, I don't know. I'd probably get the Inc. Cash because that's also going to be a keeper.
Yeah, don't forget the Marriott card probably is going to be a keeper for any of our watchers, listeners, because it can be upgraded to the Ritz card.
Ritz card, exactly. Yeah.
All right, I like it. Tim, did Aeroplan ever fix people's Etihad first apartment bookings? Superstar Lisa fixed mine, but I kept seeing reports of people who never got a resolution. Unclear how widespread that was. Any intel?
Well, first off, if you could, I would love Superstar Lisa to fix a lot of things for me. So if you could pass on Superstar Lisa's info, that would be terrific. I'm not, as far as, I'm not aware of, I saw a lot of people that got resolutions. I don't know how happy they were with those resolutions. But I think most of them were booked on other flights. I don't know if it was exact. I mean, I saw a lot of both sides. Did anybody actually have a booking? Did anybody here actually have a booking that was affected by that thing?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I would say that I guess I'm in the same spot. I'm unclear exactly how widespread the dissatisfaction was with how they were reaccommodated. I don't know that anybody was. To my knowledge, I haven't seen anybody that just was like left hung out to dry. But I did see some people that weren't happy with the resolution for whatever Aeroplan did to quote unquote fix their bookings.
Maybe this is another question for the audience. So answer amongst yourselves if you have data points.
Or if anybody has any info, let us know.
I mean, Aeroplan told us that they intended to fix that. And so, when I had reached out, they had certainly indicated that they intended to fix it. They understood the issue, and I gave them some assistance in terms of giving them some specific examples from readers to look at to find the problem. And the last I had heard, they had thanked me and said that had helped them find basically more of the problem and proactively go after fixing it. So my expectation was that people's bookings had gotten fixed if they had called in, but I don't know that for sure. It sounds like maybe not everybody.
Let us know. Next up, Stephen. Actually, this is a question for all, but we'll start with Stephen. From experience or hearing from others' successes, how easy or difficult is it to redeem the move to mint upgrade certificate on JetBlue?
I have absolutely no idea because I haven't heard any data.
My magic is gone.
So I'm hoping Greg will have researched this for his own stuff, and so might have some kind of idea as to how people feel about that, but maybe not.
So what I can tell you, I have no. So let me tell you how it works. What's hard to do is to not redeem them, because the way it works is, if you're flying coach on a flight that has mint and you have those certificates in your account, they'll apply them automatically if they can, unless you call up more than 72 hours in advance to tell them, no, please don't do that. So it's just kind of weird. So, like, one of the challenges, I think, for someone who flies JetBlue a lot would be making sure that they don't accidentally use those mint upgrades on a flight where they don't actually want them to be used. But I think the real question is, how likely is it for the upgrade to go through? And you don't get on the upgrade list till 24 hours in advance. So these are not confirmed in advance upgrades. And I have not researched that at all. I have no idea. And I'm sure it's very heavily dependent on the route. Like, probably flying between LA and New York City is probably difficult, because it's just, there's so much demand for premium seating on that route. But I don't know, flying between Europe and the States during an off time or something might be better. I'm just making this up. I don't really know.
All right. I'm going to shuffle our order because we have another one that's supposed to be assigned to Greg, and that's not where you're at in my Zoom. So Nick, no one needs to know this thought process, but does anybody know what's up with BILT card having fraudulent transactions? I already changed my card twice and still see the fraudulent charges continue. Anybody?
No, I mean, I've had lots of cards over the years that I've had to switch out over fraudulent charges. But no, I'm not aware of.
Well,
go ahead.
BILT had been getting hit pretty hard with fraudulent transactions. But I haven't heard about it recently, though. Like, this was,
it was a while back. Yeah.
Where we heard like quite a few data points of that happening to people, but I haven't heard about it recently. So it's, I guess, concerning that it's still happening, but this might be independent of that potentially.
So I've heard a couple of people bring that up, and while I imagine that has to be annoying, I mean, the way that U.S. credit card law works, you're not responsible for charges that you didn't make, right? That were fraudulent charges, to my understanding. So while it's probably somewhat inconvenient, I don't necessarily know as though I have. I guess I don't understand why I have heard people talk about that as an issue, but that's not like, I don't worry about it. It happens all the time on cards. I shouldn't say all the time. It happens like every year that there's a breach of some sort, and we got to replace something. So it's not usually a big deal to me when that happens. I don't know.
I think it might be because BILT's like disproportionately affected from what
is that?
And then when people are changing their card number, the charges are still going through, like possibly on the old card number. I think that might be what the issue possibly is. So it might be kind of like one of those recurring bills where, however it's been set up, means that they just can't stop it. I think that
so you have to keep disputing and everything. That'd be a pain. That'd be annoying, I guess. Yeah.
Well, has anybody had any issues with other, just out of curiosity, heard of issues with other Wells Fargo issued cards? I've never had a Wells Fargo card. I don't really know.
I haven't had one either.
Oh, we did have some dodgy transaction on one of their business platinum cards, on a Wells Fargo business platinum card a while ago. That was like a one-off kind of thing. But yeah, I've not had a BILT card, so I've not had any issues with that. And we used to have like a Wells Fargo checking account, never had any issues on the debit card side of things. But we did get a fraudulent transaction on a Wells Fargo business card.
Have you had issues with
tell
yours,
us
Greg?
what? Well, first I want to know, what is a Wells Fargo business platinum card? I've never heard of that.
I mean, I think that was what it was called. It was
Yeah,
one that earned
no,
like
it is.
1.5% cash back, but they had a sign-up bonus of like $500.
Okay,
or something
I don't
like
remember
back in the day. So yeah, I got it for the sign-up bonus, and then that was it.
Yeah. No, I haven't had any fraudulent charges on my BILT card yet. I keep hoping for, fraudulent restaurant charges on the first of the month when it earns 6x, but not a one.
I mean, some of us could help you with those.
I was going to say, the words right out of my mouth. Just know if you need help with fraudulent restaurant transactions first. Happy to
I know
oblige.
someone who goes to restaurants. All right, I'm going to move us along to this question for Greg. Greg, your post about expanding your credit card collection. Why prioritize the JetBlue business card over others?
I guess I thought I already said, both in the post and here, it was 100% because I got that JetBlue status match, and I wanted to, by getting a JetBlue business card or the JetBlue Plus card, I'll be able to keep that status for all of next year as well. So I'll be able to get to use those perks for a whole nother year. So I definitely want one of those JetBlue cards. I wanted the business one because it won't add to my 524 count. So I'll still be able to sign up for more Chase cards as long as I'm under 524. Whereas if I get the JetBlue Plus card, which is the personal card, that will add to my 524. If I'm denied for the business card, maybe I'll try for the Plus card, and just deal with not being able to get Chase cards for a while.
All right, makes sense. Tim, on Bank of America Premium Rewards Elite, is it possible to book a flight via the portal, get the 20% discount, and cancel the flight later to indirectly cash out the points for 1.25 cents each?
So I'm going to punt this shortly because I'm not involved in this ecosphere, whereas Greg is. And plus, we just want every question to go to Greg. But I'm assuming they mean a refundable ticket. And so I'm going to say a refundable ticket beforehand, and I'm going to add that to the question and then pass it off to Greg.
I don't know. I haven't looked into that. That seems like it's doable. I would think that if you didn't buy a refundable one, that might even be a better way to do it, to turn it into 1.25 cents worth of like Delta or United or whatever credit. Because if you have a non-refundable one and you cancel, you'll just get airline credit. And so that would almost certainly work, or at least I don't know why it wouldn't work, but I haven't tried, so don't know.
All right, I think that puts us at Stephen. Any tips for paying a mortgage with a credit card?
I haven't had a mortgage in quite a few years, and so I've
That's
never
right.
actually tried doing this. But I think you can use like plastic or plastique, however it's pronounced, and use MasterCard, and is it Discovered that they accept for that as well?
Mm-hmm.
And then use that in order to be able to pay for that. Although I feel like there's restrictions for some banks where they don't let their MasterCards be used. And so I think we have a post about that, because I feel like we were discussing that earlier on about like this post as to whether or not it needs updating. So I don't know if there's been any changes since that was first written. But yeah, I think MasterCard and Discover, you can use plastic in order to be able to pay for your mortgage. And then I imagine there's probably some mortgage providers where you can pay with a debit card. And if that's the case, then that might be some kind of indirect way, either with a debit card that ends up earning 1% cash back or something like that, or through other kind of methods of using debit cards. that might be a possibility. I'm not aware of any particular companies that accept debit card payment like that, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out there would be like some kind of mortgage company.
Well, looks like Stephen froze. So anyone else want to chime in?
I just realized halfway into that I was frozen. So I just gave away the biggest like MSC. So I'm sorry, guys.
And if only people had heard that last sentence.
Too bad.
Best kept secret. Anyone else have anything to add to that, or shall we move along back to Greg? All right. We haven't done that many like hypothetical or like, predictions for the future this time. So let's do one. Do you expect that the Morgan Stanley Plat will adopt the same family language present on the consumer Schwab cards?
Yeah. I mean, it does seem likely that that'll happen, but on the other hand, maybe it was a conscious decision not to. Like it was kind of surprising that the family language showed up on the regular Platinum card and the Schwab Platinum card and not on the Morgan Stanley. So I'm gonna actually go with I give like 60% chance that Morgan Stanley is gonna stay untethered to the others.
Like a weather forecast. All right.
I can't be proven wrong with that.
Well, it's only a 60% chance after all.
Smart. I like that. All right, Nick. Let me find my place here. Do economy award redemptions for European Airlines typically come with check baggage allowance? And how do you know for sure? So this person is thinking about LOT Polish Airlines.
Yeah, boy, I think a lot of them these days might not. If anybody else wants to chime in, I think a lot of them might not unless you have some sort of a status. I in the past I felt like they did, but now with the introduction of all these economy light fares, I think it varies. I mean, I say they might not. I know, for instance, I just had Greg look one up for me recently with Finnair Plus points, and with Finnair, when you use their points on their metal, it does buy you the fare that includes a checked bag. But I know I ran into an award I booked on Air France. Now, I booked it on Air France and I had Delta Gold status at the time, so I was entitled to a checked bag. But initially, they told me no, that I wouldn't be able to get any checked baggage. So they seemed to think that I wouldn't. It took quite a bit of pushback for me to actually get the checked bag. So, I think you're going to run into situations certainly where you don't, if you don't have status. I think. Tim, do you have something more you can add on that at all? Thought maybe you.
I've never had and again, I'm assuming that these are inter-Europe awards.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
I can't imagine there would ever be an international, like a transatlantic flight that would ever have a non. And I've never run into that personally, just because it seems like the awards always book into main cabin, as opposed to the light fares. But I wouldn't be comfortable saying that applies to everyone necessarily. I think you'd kind of have to look at what I would be pretty surprised if LOT or LOT or however it's supposed to be said, if that isn't booking into a baggage included fare, but honestly, I'm not sure. You'd have to look at whatever it's booking it into. I mean, the nice thing is you would theoretically have some time to change that if you needed to, if it didn't have baggage attached to it, but.
And it ought to say when you're going through the booking process what your baggage allowance is, I think, with most award programs.
Part 2 of the question, this person wants to know how you know.
How you know,
so
usually during the booking process, it says what your baggage allowance is going to be.
Yep.
All right, that'll do. Tim, can you hold multiple Ritz Carlton cards?
Yes.
That was easy.
Like the Staples button.
I do think there is something. I mean, just to piggyback onto it, it's worth noting that you're not going to get multiple benefits of many of the travel protections and things that we like about the Ritz-Carlton card. However, you can have them, and I don't have them, but from what I understand from other people that do have multiple cards, Ritz-Carlton cards, you will still get the incidental credits and the 85K Marriott free night certificate for each card that you hold.
All right. Stephen, we're going to start with you, and then this will be an everyone question. Favorite European airline?
I guess this is like, is this in terms of like flying to Europe or within Europe? Because
It
it's going to
excludes
sound
Ryanair.
okay. I'm going to throw a curveball. Like for this one, I'm going to say one that people probably wouldn't expect. It's not necessarily my favorite European airline because I think that would be pushing it. But I'm going to say EasyJet. In terms of, but in terms of yeah, I mean that they clearly aren't the best European airline, but in terms of the value that you get, what you pay, like my experiences on EasyJet have always been solid, always paid like a low price, and the seats have been comfortable, reliable service,
true.
and
He's
things
right.
like that. And I can't think of anything. I mean, they can potentially nickel and dime you with fees, but they're always upfront with the fees. And then some of the packages that they sell in order to be able to select your seat and have like a carry-on and things like that, pretty reasonably priced. And so I'd say if you're wanting to, this is in terms of just flying around Europe, I'd say look into EasyJet because way better than Ryanair. I've heard like nightmare stories about Wizz Air and things like that, whereas EasyJet, I feel like it's an easy and safe option if you're just wanting a cheap European airline is what I go.
Wow.
I guess it kind of depends on what you're actually looking for. If you're talking about booking with miles, then obviously not. But for paid fares, then I'm going to go EasyJet.
I guess I'm going to make you pick an answer as though they're asking about miles also. I don't know, but. And would you say EasyJet is the boneless chicken wing of airline?
EasyJet doesn't get my hands dirty, so I'm good with that. It's my boneless chicken wing.
Do you have a favorite mileage version of that answer?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't done too much intra-Europe travel.
Anybody else while Steven stews on it?
For me, it's easy. It's Turkish. Flying
Which is
business
cheating a little
class
bit
within
because
Europe.
it's half Asia.
What's that?
It's cheating a little bit because it's half Asia, half Europe.
Right. Yeah, I almost said that my favorite could be the answer for favorite Asian as well, but actually it's not as clear cut if you talk about Asian airlines. But for European airlines, yeah, I really like Turkish.
Particularly business?
Yes. I flew like a 1-hour flight and they had full like elaborate catering, delicious meals and everything in business class. It was really terrific. And that's not the typical, that's so far from typical for European flights.
But then, yeah, I mean, with Turkish, I mean, you certainly can't do badly with Turkish, but it does mean that you're going to be flying via Istanbul though. So,
what Steven's saying is it's no EasyJet.
Yeah. Like EasyJet, you can fly from Ireland to Slovakia. Like that's not something you can do on Turkish very easily. So
yeah. I mean, it definitely doesn't have all the round.
He was answering it as though it were an intra-Europe question as opposed to an international.
Intercontinental.
I think
I was
Steven would probably struggle with flying transatlantic with EasyJet.
Right. Mostly because they don't do it. Yes.
So Tim and Nick, from the gambit of EasyJet to Turkish, do you guys have anything else to throw in there for favorite European airlines?
Yeah, it's funny. I literally just finished today writing a bottom line review for the Turkish 787 business class. And at the same point, I'm planning a trip for next March for my wife and I to go back to the Middle East, and I'm booking more Turkish Airlines flights. And I just booked a flight from Seattle to Istanbul with a stopover in Istanbul and then going to Tel Aviv, Israel for 47,500 miles and $220 in fees. And given the quality of the airline and given the prices that they charge on saver fares from the US, I could never imagine there being a better combination of value and product to me.
That's awesome.
For the European airlines.
Nick?
I haven't actually flown Turkish's long haul business. I've only flown like the short haul there, and it was certainly excellent, as Greg says. And their lounge is amazing. I look forward to flying long haul on Turkish later this year. So having not flown on Turkish yet, I would actually say that they all feel very similar to me. Like my first thought is they're all basically the same. Like there's very little variance in terms of the quality. So I don't get particularly excited about one over others. But if I were like pressed to pick one, I really liked the KLM 787 business class. I thought that seat was just really nicely laid out. It was comfortable and everything was in the right spot, like where it was easy and convenient. And I like the Delft Blue House gimmick. I find that kind of a cool, fun souvenir. I've only flown them once in business class with Greg, and so it's kind of weird to pick that as a favorite, but I did enjoy that experience. So I guess if you made me pick, I really like their plates and stuff too. Their little coffee stirs are like these cool little metallic twists. I don't know, I liked it. I guess that would be it. And then lounge in Amsterdam is pretty cool too.
So if you had to fly KLM without Greg, would it still be your favorite?
Well, like it's hard because I'm like, well, but I got to pay $200 and change in surcharges, and so it doesn't feel like, it's not like your 47,000 points on on Turkish and $200. Right. It's going to be more like 55 or 60,000 and 200 and change. So it's hard for me to get really excited about. I just don't get that excited about any of the European airlines.
Just the little stir spoon.
I like the little stir. It's like a little metallic stir. I should have taken one of those. I should have brought one over.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That was a fun question. Cool. All right. I think we have time for one more, and we're now at Greg. Feels like, Greg, you've been getting a lot of them, but that's what Zoom says. So is it safe to use Amex to pay taxes as part of the sign-up bonus spend?
That's easy. Yes, it is safe.
Oh. Well, then let me scrounge up another question.
Well, there is a quick caveat with that. There have been quite a few reports of people who've paid taxes.
Uh-oh. Anyone know what Stephen was saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead, Nick.
There've been quite a few reports from people who said that they paid their taxes with an Amex card and didn't get the bonus, and they contacted Amex, and Amex is like, oh, it's because you paid your taxes and it doesn't count. Or quite a few reports from people who paid their taxes with the temporary card number that comes like when you first open it. They'll give you a temporary card number instantly, and so quite a few people have said that the spend with that temporary card hasn't counted, but it's not correct. It's a mistake for sure. There was actually a recent report on Reddit from someone who filed a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau complaint against Amex on this, and Amex admitted, yes, we're sorry, we were wrong. We told you the wrong thing when we told you the tax payments don't count, and here's your bonus. And so so that was reported on Reddit. And then when I brought that up recently in Frequent Miler Insiders in a discussion about exactly this, the reader eventually continued to follow up with Amex. Even our reader didn't go as far as a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau complaint. They were actually just able to get it resolved with Amex and get their 150,000 points or whatever it was from the particular bonus in that specific instance. So yeah, tax payments are definitely supposed to count. And if it doesn't, you need to continue to follow up either with Amex or file a CFPB complaint, and you should be good.
Yeah, it does feel like it's that temporary card number that's been the kind of common denominator whenever this has been an issue.
Right. And I believe that that's like some kind of bug in Amex's system. And that, so when there's some kind of bug that prevents the sign-up bonus from paying out correctly, then the only reason taxes get implicated is because the agents that they're talking to on the phone to say, well, I haven't got my bonus, are looking for an explanation. They have no way of finding the right explanation. So they find like whatever's easiest that
Easy
looks
one.
Right to them.
Right.
And they say, oh, a tax payment. I think that's like, paying.
It sounds like cash.
Yeah.
I think
tax has something to do with money. So it's.
Remember when you call that, like, what percentage of Amex phone agents do you think have ever tried to pay their taxes with an Amex card? I mean, it's probably minuscule as to how many have ever done it. So how many of them would know that whether that counts? They wouldn't. They're just going to make up something like Greg said, and like, well, that sounds right to me. And then they're going to sound really confident with it. But they're going to be wrong.
Well, I think that does it for us, basically. So yeah, thanks for all the great questions. Don't forget to like our video quick before it ends.
Click that little thumbs up. Thanks, everybody.
Subscribe.
See you next time.